Hey folks, welcome back. So in this section of the course, we're going to touch on several different blue-green deployment techniques. And in this lesson, we're going to focus on updating DNS routing with Amazon Route 53 to perform blue-green deployments. So in the DevOps doctrine, let's click on Update DNS Routing. And this technique is pretty straightforward. We're going to have a blue environment and a green environment. And as was explained in the previous lesson, the blue is your production environment. So we're getting the green environment ready behind the scenes, performing testing and preparing it to become our production environment. So DNS is your mechanism for switching traffic from the blue environment to the green environment. And we can go in the reverse direction if we need to do a rollback. This pattern for blue-green deployments is very common because it works with a wide variety of environment configurations. So as long as you can express your endpoint into the environment as a DNS name or an IP address, you can use this pattern for blue-green deployments. And I mentioned in the last lesson that these are patterns and you don't have to match these patterns exactly. And again, in this instance, as long as you can point to a DNS name or an IP address, you can use this type of pattern. Now, some example environments would be like a single instance with a public or an elastic IP address. Again, as long as you have an IP address you can point to. Another example would be a group of instances behind an elastic load balancer or instances in an auto-scaling group, again, behind an elastic load balancer. Now, you could also use this pattern with ECS, which is Amazon EC2 Container Service, and your cluster would be fronted by an elastic load balancer. And as was mentioned in the previous lesson, and we'll also cover in a learning activity, we can do this with Elastic Beanstalk. It's pretty straightforward. We have Route 53, which will manage our DNS hosted zone. And let's say that we have our blue production environment. We've been preparing our green environment to become production. We've tested it thoroughly, and it's ready to become production. Let's go over to the management console. Let's go to Route 53. And let's go into our hosted zones, which conveniently is called LA Blue Green. And let's click on our alias record. So this is our blue environment. Now, the only thing we have to do is point our alias to our green environment. Now, here's a key point. We can shift all of this traffic all at once, or we can set up Route 53 weighted routing. So initially, maybe we want to go 80% blue, which is our production environment, 20% green. See how things go. And we can keep changing our weighting until we're satisfied, and then we can set our weighting to 100% and making this our production environment. Another advantage to this is if you have elastic load balancing in your architecture. So this would give your elastic load balancer time to adjust to the increase in traffic. And that would essentially serve the place of pre-warming your load balancer. Now, if we run into a problem, we just point our alias back to our blue environment. Yeah, there we go. We are rolled back. So with blue-green deployments, using this update DNS routing, just a few key points. Again, as long as you have a DNS name or an IP address to point to, you can employ this pattern. And the other key point is that you can shift traffic all at once, or you can do a weighted distribution, and that's sometimes referred to as canary testing, just to make sure everything's okay in your green environment before promoting it to production. So that's a look at updating DNS routing with Route 53 to perform blue-green deployments. Let's go ahead and mark this lesson complete and move on to the next.